no, this baby face hadn't been touched by 22 years of winter. So I did it for a year on the road, and then I went to Broadway and did it for a year on Broadway. It's the greatest. It's a great show, and even if you don't feel like working that night, when you show up, the audience is always there, and the audience is there to party for a show like Hairspray. It's not like doing Medea, you know. I used to think, if I were playing Medea and I had to murder my children and drag the corpses around, I'd be as crazy as Vanessa Redgrave.
I can just picture now Bruce Vilanch in Tyler Perry's new movie.
Right. Not Medea. Medea.
Yeah, Medea.
Medea, blackface, and then, you know, I could never be Prime Minister of Canada.
There you go.
I don't know the feeling of having to shave your beard, because this is as good as it's gonna get right here. Nothing else is gonna get. Nothing. That's as good as it's as good as it's gonna get.
It doesn't matter. You've already produced a son. You are a man.
I mean, he's already a step ahead of me. This is why I grow the beard, is because I mean, nothing comes up top. So
nothing up top. Listen, I had. It grows in, I don't know what even color it grows in. Well, I was kind of glad I shaved it, because at that point I was like dyeing the beard, which is a horrifying process. I mean, it's like waterboarding. I think actually for torture they should just dye people's beards. That's
just random colors like neon pink.
Yeah, or hair and beard at the same time, because it truly, you feel like you're going under.
We'll contact the government about that one, Mark. We'll have to be like,
we do have all the connections.
We had a special guest. We won't say who.
We won't say. Get the deep state involved.
I do have to say that I need Mark to look up pictures of you with your beard, because it is quite the glorious beard. But the T-shirts that you are wearing with the beard, I think, make it even better. One of the photos I'm looking at, it says, "You look better on the internet."
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, many. I have thousands of T-shirts, because with a body like this, you have to show off.
Oh yeah.
And when I moved to LA many years ago, you're like, go anywhere in Los Angeles with a T-shirt. Now, you have to wear pants. I mean, I haven't worn pants since March 12th. I struggled into sweatpants to go out and have outdoor meals, but other than that. No.
So, have you been staying busy with COVID going on? Like, have you been writing still and things like that?
The great thing about a writer is, you sit at the keyboard and you keep doing it, and they keep buying stuff, because when now they've started actually producing. There was a halt to production, but now they're actually filming stuff and shooting stuff. The live theater and clubs will be the last thing to come back, because those are the most intimate situations.
Right.
People are the most afraid, but with vaccines coming in, that might be on the horizon sooner than later. But writers, fortunately, can keep going. Actors and musicians are the ones who really suffered, because everything dried up, because there was no place to work.
Right.
So a lot of people went into studios, and a lot of work was done. But I mean, look, Taylor Swift did 7,000 albums over a weekend.
I mean, it's crazy that, like, you hear all these different stories of, like, Tom Hanks, Kevin Hart came out, said he had it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had it. And all these celebrities are either trying to, like, not work and not get it, or they're working and they're doing everything possible to stay healthy as possible. And it's quite the thing.
Any of these things, any of these productions that are happening, they're either in a bubble where they all go to someplace in Canada and they live in a hotel, and they go from the hotel to the set, and that's it until the thing is shot. And then every day everybody is tested and thermometered, and if somebody shows up with positive, everything shuts down, because they have to go into quarantine. So it's which they are already in, so they have to go into a deeper quarantine. So it adds a lot of money to the budget. Somebody comes up positive, but they keep doing it anyway.
So with everything coming on the new horizon, things coming back, do you personally have anything in the works besides your secondary movie? that you can talk about. We get it.
No, I'm writing. I say I'm writing this book, and I'm writing a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't talk about because until it's announced, you know. But I'm working, so I have nothing to plug. In other words,
okay. I mean, I'm
in a plug-free zone right now.
Okay, I can respect it. I can respect it. So, taking a look back, I mean, obviously you've done a lot of different stuff and quite a lot of different things. Do you have any like things that stand out to you as like what you would say you're the most proud of?
Well, you know, I mean, 23 Oscar shows. I'm proud of that, and that being in on the ground floor of Bette Midler, if that's exactly the metaphor I want to use. I'm proud of that, and Hot Squares, which was a great success. You know, I'm proud of all of that. And I've done. I guess if I'm proud of anything, it's of the philanthropic stuff I've done. I mean, I've done every AIDS charity on the planet. I've done every gay and lesbian thing. I'm a big Jew, so I do lots of Jewish stuff, and just generally civil rights and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the sort of stuff to be proud of because I mean, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to be, but it's not an ideal world. So
right. As a fellow Jew, I do appreciate it.
Yes,
I'm not.
The Jews of Wisconsin.
Two on one.
My PhD.
The Jews of Wisconsin.
Milwaukee not included.
I heard you guys have like a sixth sense of like when another one's around, you guys are kind of like, I know you. So
here's a tiny one now who's just emerged. We have Gaydar.
Right.
It's not. We have Gaydar. I don't know about Judah. Well, you probably. I mean, it probably is too, but I mean, it's easier.
Yeah, I don't think it works as well as Gaydar, but I think it's more like old like Sonar is what we have versus like full on Gaydar. It's like we can just get little blips of where the Jews are.
Where the Jews are. Someone waits for me. Connie Francis, not a Jew.
Just so you know, me and Mark are notorious for giving out ideas on our podcast for no apparent reason. So any of these, go ahead and write them down. I mean, you know where you got them. So, so with these different things throughout your life that you have done, what are some of your favorite people that you've gotten a chance to meet and work with?
Favorite people? Well, Whoopi. I mean, you know, for 6 years I was to the left of Whoopi, which is if that's possible. And the people who were in Get Bruce, Bette, Whoopi, Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, those were the four. Lily Tomlin, who I've worked with a lot. I mean, they're a host of, I don't know. I mean, they're all favorites because I like all of them and I enjoy all of them for one reason or another. So it's always hard, you know. I mean, I used to be a journalist and I would ask that question. I stopped doing it because, do you have favorites? I mean,
this guy,
Mark.
that guy.
And you, Bruce, you're slowly becoming more of my. I mean, the list is actually like Mark and then you. So I'm thinking it's slowly starting to go this way.
You know, I can remove you from this, right?
Right.
So
I literally have all the power right now.
I remember I was once in a press conference with a Twiggy, and it was they were asking, "What's your favorite this, your favorite that, your favorite the other thing?" And I said, "What's your favorite shoe size?" And she just burst into hysterics, and she and I were the only ones laughing because all the other reporters were kind of going, "What the fuck kind of question is that?" What? I mean, it was so absurd,
right?
You know?
Well, I'm sorry, it's absurd, Bruce.
Swinging from a chandelier. How about you?
I don't know. That's an interesting question, though, that we should elaborate.
Favorite position? Well, then that would give away what you like to do, and you don't want to do that unless you're auditioning for people who are listening.
That's true.
So, according to our Facebook page, they want to change our name to the show Ban the Co-host, according to Justin Wallace. But what he just
true.
I do have that power. I'm the one who runs the show. So
right, yeah, yeah, gotcha.
Bruce, so like,
yes,
as you can tell, me and Mark are very big nerds. I mean, my pop vinyl collection with the comics behind me. Mark's got his setup going on there. So we always ask our guests this. What are you into that you consider, or that most people would consider kind of nerdy in a way?
Well, that's a really very good question. I don't know what I am. What am I into that's nerdy?
Obviously, besides Star Wars, because I mean,
well, yeah. Well, I'm not into that. I got thrust into it. Shakespeare wrote, some have greatness thrust upon them. That was thrust upon me. Well, when I was a kid, and before it was really the rage, I was a Titanic nerd. I was fascinated by everything having to do with the two big disasters, the Titanic and Pompeii. I was very big on those. I don't know why. We tried to figure it out. Like, why was I attracted to these two disastrous things where a lot of people died? And Shipwrecks fascinated me. And I became a child expert on the Lusitania and the Andrea Doria and all these major shipwrecks. But I guess the idea of being trapped in something that you thought was comfortable in the real world, and suddenly the real world gets turned upside down. So I don't know. But I didn't collect Titanic memorabilia. I mean, there was no Titanic memorabilia. It was all 10,000 feet down. Now, of course, they've dredged it all up, and they want a fortune for it. But I don't know.
As long as nobody walks up to you and says, the old lady wants her jewels back. Can you please give it back to her, Bruce?
We did that with Ben had a character, a mermaid, Dolores Delago, who was a mermaid in a wheelchair, and we used her for years and years and years in the show. And in one of them, she dives on the Titanic and comes back up with the heart of the ocean.
So I've read up on a couple of shipwrecks myself. Have you ever read up on the there was like that group of boys from England that like were stranded on an island for like a year by themselves? Like it was like it's an actual true story, and like the Lost Boys, and it was like a group of like it was a group of like 12 kids that like rowed away. They were in like a boarding school, and they like
Lord of the Flies?
Pretty much, yeah. And they like snuck away in the middle of the night to go rowing in the lake, and they all fell asleep, and they woke up on this island like 100 miles out, and it took them a year to be found.
That I don't know. I do know there was a porno picture called Lords of the Fly, which was 12 guys on a desert island. So they seem to have lost their clothing when the ship went down.
It's the first thing that happens as your clothing
disappears. The first thing that went down was the ship. Pardon me, yes?
Yeah.
I have to say your emails, like we were laughing so hard. Me and Mark get together on Monday nights for we play Dungeons and Dragons together.
Oh, wow.
we ride that nerd train.
That's pretty
hard.
It's old school.
We conduct this train.
Old school nerd fandom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like one of the original.
It's classic. It's like bridge or chess. Those are ancient too, but they're still around.
Oh yeah.
I mean, chess, that Netflix thing everybody's watching, The Queen's Gambit.
Oh yeah, I keep seeing that everywhere.
My mom said it's fantastic. Actually,
everybody has loved it. I've just gotten into it.
What do you think about it so far?
I think it's a little slow, and she looks a little psychotic. Other than that, I'm fascinated. It's kind of like it's at a Mad Men pace, and they're all behaving like people in 1963, in prototypical 1963 Midwest are behaving, and it's weird because I was, alive then, and it's an idealized version of how people behave. But I hear it gets great as she finds herself. So at the beginning of the thing, so far it's like Little Orphan Annie is a chess master.
And then she evolves.
Let me see where it goes before I make final judgment.
Well, how about this? If you were to create we'll say a sci-fi, we'll go with that genre, a sci-fi movie, what would be something that you would kind of want to kind of create in your mind?
Well, I've already done it. It was called The Ice Pirates, and I was in it. 1983. I was brought in to do a rewrite, and Paul Williams, little Paul Williams, was supposed to play Weird Wendon, the evil emperor, and he backed out, and they cast me. And so he's a compulsive gambler in this galaxy, and he has gambled away his body, and he's just a head. And they keep putting the head on other bodies. Not as graphic as it sounds, but as I signed autographs, famous for my head.
Famous for my head.
There were a lot of head jokes in it that I added, of course. But it was made at MGM. Robert Urich was the star, and it was about a bunch of pirates. Water is the precious commodity in the galaxy, and the ice pirates had shipped from planet to planet as ice. The ice pirates hijack these ships and sell them to the next bidder. And Bob Urich and Michael Roberts and Mary Crosby were the pirates, and Angelica Houston. It was her second movie. She won an Oscar for her third movie, Priestess Honor. As a result, the Ice Pirates was shown constantly on cable because it was the only other Angelica Houston that they could show. And played an Amazon, and her boyfriend on it was Ron Perlman, who was later the Beast on Beauty and the Beast, and then Sons of Anarchy. He was the head of the clan on Sons of Anarchy.
So I love that show.
The what?
Well, I love that show, Sons of Anarchy.
Well, at playing his opposite, his wife was Katie Seagal, who was one of Bette Midler's harlots, who I toured with for years before she started acting, and was Peg Bundy on Married with Children. If there aren't too many cultural references in one sentence.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Ice Pirates was.
It allows us to follow.
It was a half-assed hit, and it has a following to this day.
I'm gonna have to watch this now.
You must. It's available.
Oh yeah, it's Mark. There's the list that it's actually funny. There's a lot of things that like you don't realize like until you start really deep diving into actors and writers and stuff. And Bruce, it's like it's unbelievable like that. There's so much different things that like I mean it's like get Bruce. It's gotta go on my list now. Things I gotta watch.
Yeah,
gotta go on the list. Ice Pirates.
When you watch Ice Pirates, the drinking game that you can play is every time you see a set that looked like something that was in Spaceballs, it wasn't Spaceballs. We finished shooting and Spaceballs came onto that stage, and Mel used a whole bunch of the sets, redressed them, of course. But for people who are really into that kind of stuff, and a lot of people have seen Spaceballs a million times, which I also almost was in. Almost was in Spaceballs.
Which character?
Sorry?
Which character?
It was going to be it was an anime. I was going to be reduced. It was an alien, the alien who jumps out of somebody's body and sings, "Hello, my honey, hello, my baby, hello, my down." There was that, but also, I mean, if they didn't get John Candy, who they got, I was up for that part because Mel's a friend and he liked me and he wanted to put me in it, but it just didn't work out. But,
right.
It's okay. John Candy was hysterical.
Oh, I mean, he was. It's like him and Robin are like two guys that, I miss them tremendously in movies. And it just it resonates with me through the, like watching old movies. Like I have to watch Uncle Buck at least once a year. And I have to watch at least 2 or 3 Robin Williams movies at least twice a year, once or twice a year, because it's just that is what my childhood was watching those guys and just laughing so hard at the different things that they've done throughout their lives. So just actually, we have a Facebook question. Someone wants to know, what is your favorite Mel Brooks movie?
Probably Blazing Saddles. Probably Blazing Saddles. I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. I was visiting a friend. Karen Allen's a friend, and we had the same age. And she was shooting Raiders of the Lost Ark in Tunisia. And so we used this as an excuse to go to Tunisia. And we were on the set, and they were shooting this sequence with this gigantic plane that never gets off the ground. And there's a battle going on around the plane, and millions of Nazis and and Tunisia, not Tunisians, but it's supposed to be Nazis and various Arabs like that. And like guns are going off and stuff is happening. And they were shooting, and Steven Spielberg was standing next to me, and he was so excited. And he was saying, "Haven't you always wanted to do this?" And I said, "No, what I always wanted to do was the fart scene in Blazing Saddles."
So if you could go back, that's what you'd put yourself in that scene.
Put myself in that scene, or just direct that scene, or write that scene. How that scene happened and actually wasn't cut, which is a good word to use. By the time it was released, it was all. But I would also do, I would also rather do Noel Coward, who was terribly sophisticated. But so
if you were directing the fart scene in Blazing Saddles, what would be your direction? What would be your direction to the actors? How would you instruct them on the fart scene?
Well, you'd probably do several different takes of it, and you would have each one give you a different kind of fart, like a different reaction, a different way they had to like squeeze each one out, or some of them would like one of them would have to be he's not gonna let on that he did it. I mean, I'm sure that was how Mel did it. I'm sure he just said, "Okay, all you guys fart," or it builds, doesn't it, from one to the other?
Right.
It's going along.
Oh yeah, I think it's
one of my favorite sight gags is one of the Eddie Murphy Clump movies, where the grandfather farts and the drapes catch fire behind him. I'm so sorry. I'm really very sophisticated. I have many degrees.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm a sucker for a fart joke.
We all are.
Well, because farts it's the essence of comedy. I mean, it's something awful happens that you have to cover up, or you're terribly dignified and then you fart, and it literally takes the air out of you. I mean, it's a genuine. It's the dirtier version of the banana peel.
Right. I mean, and it's the funniest thing is that the whole thing
about it, and then you'll espouse this theory, and somebody will say, "Oh, I don't like bathroom humor."
Or
so I think you need to
I don't fart around my significant other. It's not proper.
Yeah, or what is it like? Oh God, I would never want to hear her fart. I don't care that she does it, but I don't want to hear it.
I had a woman who said, "Girls don't fart." It was very simple. Girls don't fart.
If you don't laugh at farts, we can't be friends.
Right.
Very true, Ethan.
And you've never slept in the wet spot, right?
Yeah. Yes,
I mean, without giving away too much.
Well, yeah, I can safely say that my 3-year-old son finds it hilarious as you're picking him up, like if you try to give him like a put him on your shoulders or whatever and like carry him around, he'll wait till that moment to just let it rip on my back and then start crying, laughing, like he's so proud of himself and he's done just the best thing in the world.
And he has.
I mean, I can't fault him for it. I mean, it's the volume alone is impressive. So you're like, all right, kudos, nice job. So I can only imagine how many times you've talked about this. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Star Wars Holiday Special, just because I can only imagine how much you've talked about it. So I really just want to ask, I'm sure when you write stuff, you kind of you put it, you write it and then you kind of I guess you see the end product after. But when you wrote this, I mean, did you see the reaction that this movie still gets today, or did you kind of write it and go, oh, this will be what it is? Well,
door number 2. First of all, I'd like to point out at great peril that the special came out a year and a half after the Star Wars movie, and George was about to do the Empire movie. But I have to make clear to people, and I haven't in the past, but I am now, that to a lot of people in the world, Star Wars was not the greatest movie ever made. At the time, in 1978, there were people who thought it was just an amusing one-off that used a lot of stuff from the Republic serial things, and it was just technologically fascinating, and John Williams' score was Wagnerian and interesting, but it was not a religious experience. That happened later when another generation watched all of them on VHS and entered the Star Wars canon. So at the time we were doing it, we were doing a riff on a movie that we all thought was kind of a riff on science fiction movies and not a religious experience. And point B is that if we knew that what we were doing would be talked about 45 years later, we would have paid closer attention. And, you know, it helps know that we were chemically altered. But I mean, I'm reading, I like 2 blogs were sent to me yesterday talking about what a cokehead I was. I was joking. I was not a cokehead, but if stuff was offered to me, I did it. But that was 1977. Everybody was doing something, and it informed all of the work. There's no question about it. But also, a lot of the audience that was watching it was loaded, so they were having a good time too. And also, and the final point on the thing is that if George came up with the story, and I really believe that he felt that it would be some kind of an original musical. I don't think he knew what variety specials were. I don't think he knew how they worked. I think if he knew, he would never have sold it for that, because it was certainly antithetical to what he was interested in doing. And but on the other hand, if he wanted an original musical, he probably would not have made the Wookiees the lead, because, you know, a Wookiee singing "Old Man Rivers."
I mean, they do. I mean, come on, they have the most robust vocabulary.
So I hear. It's very hard to discern. And of course, you know, it was 1978. We couldn't put subtitles in. Now, all of his movies, Lupita Nyong'o has not spoken a word of English in any of those movies, or a word of any language, you know. It's all subtitles. So back then, you couldn't do any subtitles because they said the audience won't stand for it. And it was a much different culture back then.
They just didn't want to sit and read the whole movie.
Whereas now I have subtitles on for almost anything, because
well, now exactly anything you watch on Netflix or Amazon or any of that, I put subtitles on. But I like a lot of British stuff where there are a lot of regional accents and comprehensible. I mean, I have a friend in London, and I said, you know, I was watching so and so at one of the cathedrals, and he said, "Oh, we put subtitles on too. We don't know what we can't fathom a Yorkshire accent."
Do you actually, have you gotten a chance to watch any of the new Mandalorian or any of the new Star Wars stuff?
Mandalorian, I love. It's terrific. And they did a shout out to Life Day, which was George's holiday, and then of course the Lego special is all about Life Day. It's just kind of the same plot, like they're running home to get there in time for Life Day.
Right. So is there any...
a lot of next generation Star Wars characters? You know, we didn't have Kylo Ren. We didn't we didn't have any. I mean, that was not in our galaxy.
If you could write for someone more set in the modern Star Wars universe, do you think you'd have someone that you would love to like write something for, like some more character stuff for them?
You mean one of the current characters that's happening now? I can't think of anybody. I do think there's a funny sketch in The Mandalorian being fitted for a tuxedo for the Oscars. Just a sketch, and maybe it'll show up on SNL. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, Adam Driver.
Whoever the Mandalorian is, if they ever had.
I got something for you, Bruce. Hold on.
Yeah, Devin was sharing something funny with me earlier that people were saying the most unrealistic part of Mandalorian is the fact that he finds a babysitter in like 2 seconds whenever he needs someone to watch the kid.
Well, yeah, you know
that is 100% true.
Oh, that's what is this? Is this a?
These are art pieces my fiance had purchased for me. So I have.
This is a Wookiee and Calvin Klein. What is this?
Yeah, essentially. I have 4 different ones. One is a stormtrooper they're all different suits. The stormtrooper, C-3PO, Yoda, and the Wookiee, and they're all in different suits, and they're pressed. It's screen printed on pages. That she had found it on Etsy, knowing that I'm such a big Star Wars nerd. That's so
funny. That is hysterical. I think the stormtroopers all look like late model Ford Fusions.
It's crazy that like you know, it is funny, like when you look at the past and the way that things were designed back then, like you were saying, like you guys thought it was just going to be, essentially you thought it was going to be the Fifth Element, and it turned into
our show or
Star Wars in general.
Star Wars. Oh,
yeah, the very first Star Wars movie came out. You guys thought it was going to be just like this one movie. Everybody's going to be like, okay, space, that's cool, and then just like keep walking.
Right.
And it just evolved into this universe that like Mark's son is going to eventually get into, and just that timeline is just crazy to me.
It's like not since the Wizard of Oz. You know,
it's true.
It never goes away, in which there are 7 million iterations of it, and Wicked, which has been running 20 years on Broadway. I mean, you know, there are certain iconographic things. It lightning in a bottle. You know, he hit the iconographic jackpot. The thing I loved about Mandalorian, and I think that we should all work towards, is a baby carriage that floats next to you wherever you go.
That's true. I would have killed for that.
Just floats along and never seems to get into trouble. You know, it's just. And of course, if like bad guys approach, then you know whatever your baby can use the Force to get rid of them.
Do the hand thing, baby.
The main aspect I would want now that he's older is it's still a floating carriage, but one that the top comes over, and so that I don't hear anything that is from the inside of it.
Well, that happened with that one too, but the baby would bring the top back up.
Yeah. I might take away that feature and just like make sure there's air holes, and then just close it for a little bit. It'd be good. I
do like the babysitting joke. We used to call that Doris Day parking. Doris Day was in a bunch of movies, and wherever she drove, wherever she needed to park, there was a space. Middle of Times Square, time pulls up. There's a space for Doris. It was rock star parking was like the later version of it. It was like wherever rock stars go, there, you know, they can leave their car. Nobody can bother.
Yeah, one man is trying to protect this baby, and he's got 15 different babysitters for this baby. It's just works out perfect.
And just somehow none of them just are like, oh, random child that's apparently super rare. I'm not going to sell this, even though like half the people still do stuff. So I know we'll wrap up in a little bit here, Bruce, but you know, I know you said you're not really working on anything right now, but is there any project that has come out recently that you like, if you could go back, you would want to work on, or like, is there anything that you've seen coming out recently that you'd love to be a part of, any current running show or movie or anything?
The Cameron Show, watch him destroy a house in Wisconsin. Can this Jewish child be saved?
It's all noise, no destruction.
It's all noise. It's all distraction. Is there anything? But that's also a good question. You know, I don't really think that way. I mean, things come along and I go, that would be fun to be a part of. I mean, generally when I thought, I'd like to work on that, and it happens, it just generally works out. I mean, a lot of times you watch something, let's say on television, and you say, I'd like to be on the staff of that show. And then you get on the staff and you realize it's a nightmare. And they're all in it for the money. And, you know, it's just, I do remember, there's one show I was working on, and the head writer was crazy, and the star was crazy, and it went very late. It would go late every night. And finally, one night, the head writer just put his pen down and says, I have to leave now and go home to my fucking loved ones.
Okay.
It shows you how it alters your humanity to work on things like that. But there is a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on TV that I love. I fancy that I would love to work on a mystery show, like a procedural. Like some of the British shows are genius. There's a show called Vera that's absolutely brilliant, and Shetland. They both come from the mind of a woman named Anne Cleves, who's really, really a great writer. And I think I would like to work on those, but I have a feeling they're not as much fun as the stuff I do. So
it's kind of like you know, it's like if you're enjoying what you're doing, don't rock the boat too much.
Right. I mean, If it was only about doing what I wanted to do, I would be Ryan Gosling's dresser.
I can, yeah.
Or fluffer, but I think Viagra put that out of business. Fluffers have no career anymore. Everything's chemical now.
Now, would you live in his house at that point? Or
I live in the old Fluffer's home.
The old Fluffer's home.
I would live in his house. I'd be elbowing Eva Mendes out of the way. Because,
like, don't worry, I got this. I know exactly what to do.
You have 2 kids. Go take care of them. I'll take care of them. It's okay.
Bruce has got this, baby. Let me get in there.
All about you.
Bruce, let me ask, if people wanted to...
Lily Tomlin used to have a joke, which I did not write, that she said, imagine if we all grew up to be what we wanted to be as kids. The world will be filled with firefighters and ballerinas.
I don't know if I really had a major thing I thought about wanting to be when I guess it's the normal. I mean, I don't know. I guess I wanted to like play professional sports and then realized when I stopped growing at 5'10" that probably wasn't a realistic option.
Well, you could be baseball. How tall is Cody Bellinger?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but you ever see Mark play baseball?
No one's seen me. I haven't played baseball since high school. It's been a long time.
No, but if he went to Milwaukee, then they really would be the Braves. Thank you. You're all right. Eat the just tip the veal.
Bruce, if people wanted to maybe get to know you better, check you out, what are some places that they can find out about Bruce?
There's an actual website called wegotbruce.com. And there's a guy in Florida who follows me and knows what I'm doing before I know what I'm doing. It's very weird. It's a fan site. It's great. And if you need to get a hold of me, he can get a hold of me for you. So it's
he's kind of like your live-in fluffer in a way.
Yeah, he's my literary fluffer, exactly. I'm always auditioning for fluffers, but
no one's called back yet.
In these times of COVID, it's very difficult.
True. I mean, it does keep your technique still good, though. If you keep auditioning for the roles, I mean, at least your technique is still kind of good.
It's amazing what you can do without taking your mask off.
Hey, that guy doesn't have his nose covered. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be inventive, especially in this COVID era. You gotta think of new ways of getting things done. Whatever way you can. I mean, Bruce, obviously you've done a lot of different things. I'm sure, like you said, you alluded to earlier, like Ice Pirates still has a fandom to this day, and a lot of things, kind of work that way now. That like random things in shows and movies that some people never even have heard of or thought of, have these like cult fandoms. Besides Ice Pirates, is there anything that when you do go to places and meet fans or anything like that people tend to want to ask you about or talk to you about, or like have you sign, or like what tends to be like a thing people like to talk to you about?
Well, now they all want selfies. It's weird. They all just want selfies, and I'll be standing. I mean, I haven't done this since March, but I'll be standing in an airport, and there'll be people taking selfies with me, and people walking by going, "Who's he?" I have that kind of celebrity. So, but basically, Hollywood Squares is what they've most seen. When you think about it, it was on television every night of the week, and so and they remember. A lot of them come up to me and say, "Yes, I used to watch that with my grandmother." Yeah. And so, but it progressed. It was my mother. Now it's become my grandmother. And when it becomes my great grandmother, I'll probably begin denying it.
It's time to wrap it up. So it's kind of like a final thing. Like, we always try to ask our people, like, if there was any message or, a big thing that we do here in the Fandom Fact is, besides deep diving into different fandoms, is we like to try to give back to people. Because I had one of the reasons I mainly started this is I had conversations with friends that said, I wish I had known people or knew friends or knew of things that could have helped me like get more into the things that they wanted to be fans of before people, kind of like made fun of them. And then they don't go into the things that they like because people make fun of them or they do things like that. Do you have any like going through what you said, being very obviously LGBTQ, like, do you have any message you would maybe pass along to people who are trying to maybe get their own foots in the door, or just trying to go through, life in general, that, from your experiences that you've been able to, to learn from, and something that you think could help other people?
I think you have to believe in yourself. You have to feel like there is something that you have something that you want to give, and you have to show up. You have to not be afraid to put yourself out there. You have to not be afraid to do it for free at the beginning. You have to give it away. You have to. You just have to be present. You have to be in the moment. And I think if you're struggling with your sexual identity, I think you have to come out. You have to just say, "This is who I am," and it all flows from that. Once you know who you are, then you can convey it to other people, and it'll work for you. It's easy to say it, but the truth is, it makes life so much simpler when you just are your authentic self, and not ashamed of it.
I like that. That's a good message, and to kind of wrap it up, we always do kind of some random fandom experiences at the end of every episode. And so just because we talked about it earlier, and I know I'm going to be watching it, so I'm going to encourage everyone to go out and find and watch Ice Pirates, because I know I love movies like that, like those older like movies and stuff that you would see like Mr. Science Theater 3000 or stuff like that cover. And that's going to be my little thing for everyone, is to find go watch Ice Pirates, or go check out some of other Bruce's work. And of course, everyone knows, if we do think there's any relevant links to anything, anything will of course always be posted when the episode will air for the actual podcast. But we like doing periodic stuff live when we do get the chance. But very easy. I know you said you didn't have anything to like majorly plug, but obviously the website that you did mention, we'll make sure we post that link. So if anyone does want to shoot a message to your fan website, they can, shoot a message to that and maybe get a hold of you in that way. But, of course, for us here at the Fandom Effect, very easy to get a hold of us. If you're watching us on Facebook right now, you already have that, but it's Facebook and Twitter are the exact same, at Fandom Effect. You can also catch me and Devin on Twitch at dreamy_Kong, and the Bushido Geek for me. If you do want to follow some of my cosplay stuff for Instagram, the.bushido.geek, you can check out some of my Red Hood and DC and anime cosplays on there as I get kind of more into that fun stuff. And of course, as you guys know, new episodes every Friday. So if you're watching this live right now, don't forget tomorrow's episode will be the birthday fun random special that me and Devin recorded yesterday. So if you didn't catch it yesterday, you can go ahead and catch the episode tomorrow. But other than that, of course, if you do want to catch past episodes, every major podcasting platform, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, everything but Jeff Bezos, because he doesn't like us anymore. But that's pretty much everywhere you can find us. Devin, I think I got everything right.
Yes. Bruce, I just want to say thank you again so much for coming and talking with us. We really appreciate it. It was a great time. Mark, as always, I hate you.
You too, man.
Goodbye, Cameron.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
He's in the other room now.
And on that, you guys, you know what? There's a lot of people who are hiding behind masks, but we all share the same nerdiness.
That's true. And always remember, when you do find one fandom, 3 more will rise to join it. We will see you on the very next edition of the Fandom Effect podcast. Make sure you find something new to believe in, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Run credits.
Yeah, run credits.